Thank you everyone for being here this afternoon. I want to thank aluCine for holding this symposium. I think it's a very timely and critical event, and I'm thrilled to be here with all of you today. And it is my pleasure to introduce Elena Martin Franco and Alexandra Helis this afternoon. Elena Martin Franco was born in Cartagena. She lives and works in Tiotiaki, Montreal since 1988, and she holds an MA in Visual and Media Arts from the University of Quebec in Montreal. She's a member of several feminist contemporary art collectives, including Migrant, Collective of Diffusion of Contemporary Art, La Redada, Network of Women Artists from the Colombian Caribbean, CAVCA, Community of Visual Arts of Cartagena and Bolivar, and Las Meninas Emputadas, Feminist Collective and Anti-Colonial Activist from Cartagena. Her transdisciplinary practice explores blending different artistic processes and the hybridization between traditional and new technologies. Her artistic practice invites dialogue about power dynamics, gender-based violence, migration, and artistic censorship. She received the Powerhouse Prize in 2018. Her work has been presented in the Dominican Republic, Lithuania, Spain, New Zealand, Colombia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Iran, Argentina, Cuba, and Canada. Welcome, Elena. Alexandra Helis is a Colombian-Venezuelan media artist based in Toronto. She has a PhD in environmental studies at New York University. Her work predominantly involves photography, video, electronic and digital process. Her practice incorporates personal field research as a tool to investigate the ecologies of various landscapes by examining the traces left by various socio-political interventions. Helis has worked collaboratively with communities around the globe, and she has extensive research on the relationship between plants, people, and power in the context of colonization and globalization. From her plant-based research creation, she explores, documents, and recreates ecologies that take shape between plants and people, between plants and their multi-species relationships. The idea of plants as political allies in various contexts of struggle against colonialism, displacement in war, and migratory and racial readiness is central to her concept of migrated plants. So now I would like to provide a background for today's panel discussion, and I would like to offer a concise overview of Elena's recent performance that we had yesterday, The Elephant Woman, which we had as I said, the privilege to experience yesterday, and also highlight some of the key components of Alexandra's ongoing installation, Migrant Superpositions Convertirse en, an on-site gallery located here in Toronto. is a small excerpt of yesterday's performance that we had here. And I just want to offer a small description, as I mentioned earlier, about the elephant woman. The elephant woman manifests a powerful embodiment of the core themes pervasive in her artistic repertoire. These themes primarily revolve around identity and authority, thoughtfully explored through the lens of corporeality and the construction of autofictions. At the heart of this performance lies the poignant narrative of a failure affair, one marked by the collision of the migrant and the local, the alien and the native. This inevitable loss is the outcome of the inequitable power dynamics steeped in the heavy currents of guilt, resentment, the societal taboos, and the weight upon the body, whose very essence remains slippery and unclassified. Martín Franco, in her role, becomes a living embodiment of fiction, a chimera, a fantasy that transcends the boundary of flesh and spoken language. Within the realm of the elephant woman, the artist disrupts the space she occupies, notably the colonial space and inherently the violent terrain, where individuals and communities are systematically arranged within the hierarchical structure of value. Through this evocative performance, Martín Franco invites her audience to grapple with the complexities of identity, power, and the profound impact of colonization on the human psyche and experience. I apologize that the other images we won't be able to see them right now. But that was also a small clip of Alexandra's installation. We're going to start delving into the details of these works, but I just want to give you a little bit more of context. So Alexandra's Migrant Superpositions Convertirse en is a layered multimedia installation that emerges from intricate months-long artistic journey spanning from multiple geographical regions, including Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, and Canada. The installation revolves around Alexandra's meticulous collection of two distinct plant species, the cattail and the phragmite, during a fellowship at the Rare Charitable Research Reserve in Cambridge, Ontario. This botanical exploration holds particular significance due to the invasive and disruptive nature often associated with the non-local phragmites, the European common reed. This work is a conceptual and experiential extension of Alexandra's ongoing exploration into the biopolitical significance of plants and their role as symbolic barriers. It delves into the intriguing concept of plants as potential political allies, prompting essential questions about human identity, the immigrant experience, and the nuanced dynamics of exclusion and belonging. Now I would like to offer a few questions with the intention of exploring some of the complexities of the mentioned works through the lens of loss, absence, and grief. Elena and Alexandra, how does your work address different dimensions of loss, and what specific aspects of loss are you most drawn to exploring in this particular experience? Who wants to go first?
Start.
Elena? Okay. And I'm gonna show in the meantime, we selected a couple of images that we think that will help us
So I have been in Montreal since 25 years. So in this time, this idea of loss take a different perspective. So from the beginning, I create some characters that help me to talk about how identity and memories are changed with this experience to change country and um, leave my hometown and arrive to Montreal and try to build a new person. So there is this idea that all the story and memory I have to put in questions. I have to question all my personal story and also the country, the way I saw. So there is this part, but also to discover the limits of the place where I arrive, and also how I have to fight with a stereotype to be able to build a new life and a person, a character. So all this reflection passed through different characters. Once that was talking about this combination of religious memory that was very strong in my life in Colombia, and how it dialogues with a new lifestyle, Canadian lifestyle. Then the image of Latino American women immigrant, how my subjects through this filter that was imposed from local cultural context. How I have to fight against these stereotypes, like Latin American woman artist. And then I create, and the elephant woman that was this character that talked about a heartbreak, this despecho, about understand how hard is to have a true dialogue, intercultural dialogue, relationship without hierarchy of culture, of race, or of languages. It's to understand that I'm going to live all my life in Canada trying to fight these hierarchies, gender also. So there is this idea of despecho, that it's this character receive and try to hold to create from this comprehension, understanding of these circumstances. And but with the time also we live in here and time pass, we also lose family, people die, my parents. So there are other loss that pass through our lives. The conviction that we are maybe not going to come back to our country, and that we lost all this story where we are here. Our community live and build story that we are not more there anymore. So there are all these kind of things that happen through this last year's work.
Yes, that's amazing. No, I think that was very insightful, and for sure, the images that we're seeing right now are part of the characters that you have worked and you have built through the years. The performance that we saw yesterday was particularly one iteration of the Elephant Woman. And this question comes from a very personal place in terms of, do you think and do you feel that the Elephant Woman, in a way, it's consolidating and representing many of the different battles that you have been as an immigrant, as a woman, as a person who's trying to find their space and to understand how the power of dynamics have affected so much, not only our intimacy and our personal spaces, but also the public, right? Like when it becomes political at the same time. So I want to know, like, how do you feel about that relation and connection with the elephant woman in terms of the other characters that you have built?
It's very interesting it's a personal character, right? Because it's a space of freedom for me. Because with this character, I built a frame, a conceptual frame that allowed me to, like an artist, express with all my tools. In the first years, I was artist of performance, new media, and when I finished my master, I was defined by the university and studies like performance and new media artist. But I'm also a painter, and I'm also a ceramic artist. So I built this frame. I say, okay, Elephant Women. Yes, is the bedroom is her studio. So there are places of desire, there are places of materia to touch, to allow dreams to appear in this artwork. So it's a resume of all what I was done about this subject of migration and women artists, but also it was I allowed me to use all these tools I have for work. So yes.
Yeah, no, I think you expanded on the concept of the work of the elephant woman, and that's mainly what was the purpose of the question, is to, yeah, get to understand more about where is it coming from. And for everyone who has been the different iterations, you know that this is very powerful and it's very deep and touching. So thank you for sharing that. Alexandra, your work.
And that nomadic way of thinking, I think that is already part of my body, of my being, of my way of moving in this world. That the losing definitely becomes the becoming, the convertirse en, no? So when I was working today, putting up all these images, I said, wow, how interesting is that all the titles of my work, somehow it has the word migration, becoming, transporting, or transposition, or becoming something else, or moving into it. No? Like it's always this, which I somehow connected with the idea of when you were describing the Elena's work, is the fiction. Say, well, but I work with non-fiction. Yeah? Because that fiction somehow is something that I have to embody to be able to survive too. No? So I talk about the long route or extended routes. No? So there is a general notion of when you are leaving a place, you are leaving your roots over there. Say like, well, no, I feel that I'm carrying them. No? I'm here I'm traveling all the time, not just with my camera and with my computer and the different kind of cameras, because I'm always documenting, capturing sound. But also I'm traveling with those extended routes that somehow they are really well rooted in Colombia. They are really well rooted in the Caribbean, especially. But that is also Venezuela. But they're well rooted now here too. No. So somehow this notion, it brought me into this becoming. Definitely it is not just between us as a human. Like we need to have a different kind of conversations that must be like more extended. So more and more I've been working with plants as the migrant plants. So the tools as the migrant plants became a way of understanding for me, like what I'm working, living every day. But also things like the extended roots or but also that is conceptually, but then in the techniques. No? If you see here, for example, I'm showing English for beginners. that was the first work that I made 18 years ago, 17 years ago, when I first came to Canada. And it's about the transformation, like how my voice, it sounds completely different if I'm speaking in English, que si hablo en español, completamente distinta, ¿no? So how we became something different, like something else, no? And then I was trying to understand, we are coming from the Caribbean, like this is something that we share so much. Huh? So I came here and it was full of snow. I said, "Whoa, I don't get it. What is cold?" And I connected it to the ice, to the snow cone, the raspado, that we have every morning after being in the school. Somehow it was the only notion of cold that I had. So the first reaction that I had here, it was going into the backyard the first winter. It was horrible. And I went to the back and I had some cola, raspado cola. So I have the color and I start making from the memory that I have of the floor of our house in Cartagena. What is cold in Cartagena? And that weather, the extreme hot weather, is just going and lay down to the floor. No? It's cold. So this is exactly what I made. And I just wrote there raspado as an ongoing work. It was the first one that I start here, but it's something that I feel somehow that I still working. So that performance became a video and then became a machine, and it continued developing. Yeah? So yeah.
No,
Something about the slides.
no, this is great, and I'm so glad that you are engaging in the concept of memory in your work, because that's part of the question that I had next for you. And I guess, Lena, you can also tell us how memory intersect with loss in your artistic practice, and how those inform the narratives that you create. I think Alex did a really good job in incorporating that concept of memory that we could also explore in other works that we will explain later on. But yes, I'm going to show the next image for Elena. We have here. Yeah, memory.
Yeah, memory. It's I think I should begin like how I started doing performance, and the first character I built, it was a scent, a kind of ambiguous scent that beginning with the access of the first digital photo camera that I built some kind of altares, and I take photos and I put ordinary objects and things about identity for me at the beginning of my migration. And suddenly I needed to say something, to say a priest that I was building from this heritage of Catholic heritage, words and sentence and language, but also what I was learning here, like publicity, promotion, slogan in French or in English. So I start to mix all this literature that come from religion, Catholic religion, and publicity and politics affair at that moment. And at some point I needed to say, to tell. And it's when I start to use my body to express this kind of discourse. And at some point when my work start to be shown and I have to express what I was doing, why I did that in Montreal. So I start to tell this story of migration, but also what it was. So the memory, this exercise of memory was needed. What's something that I needed to do to continue to make a kind of justification, but also make sense of my statement in Montreal. So I built this character that it's Frida Kahlo, that is kind of a way to talk how we are seeing through stereotypes, like women artists, through the image or the person of Frida Kahlo. that is a kind of mirror of the way we are seen by a context, local context. And so the narrativity take a lot of place, and I discover the power of all these stories and how it's important and it works. So I take pleasure, and I see how there is a kind of movement that passed through the image and action I was creating, and also all these words and stories and tales that I was creating and I was building. Um,
Yeah, no, I think it's what you're sharing expresses a lot of how memory it's embedded already in your work, and yeah, the image that you selected is of specifically that fictional character that you created, but also it's something that you have seen in others. But I think that when we are also going into that concept of memory, there's also a notion of absence. There's a sense of absence that it's always there, that it's always, absence is present, right? And I would like to understand more, and it will be like a good opportunity now to understand a little bit more how you both are navigating this idea of what is absence, right? Because from the lens of loss, there is so much nonsense, and it's a very layered process. And both of you have already explained how this loss is coming from these moments also, or is being nurtured by these memories. But at the same time, it comes to a place where absence itself becomes a material for both of you to work with. So, Alex, in this case, can you tell us a little bit about how this sense of absence is creating a dialogue between what's missing and what remains? But it's something that I think you touched on earlier, with the idea of what you are carrying with at the same time. So I'm going to pass to the next image.
The absent. Yeah, definitely. That is connected a little, well, a little no. It's connected with the question before of memory. No? So, yeah, we have Raspal there.
I think it's the first one.
But maybe we can go to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the absent. The absent. I'm interested in memory as a reading or how similar it is to history. That is no linear. That has kind of a fixed moment, intensities. No, so I feel memory or the memory that we embody. I'm interested more in the memory that is inscribed in our bodies, no, or in nature, in the plants, in the house, in the house of, in the case of this house. So how these moments are connected to what we are or where we live, and how that become the narrative of the moments that are narrating, but also because they are non-linear, they are the reflection of how I narrate my installations. No, so my installation work are full comes something new that is completed by the person when it comes inside. No, so and it's kind of I intended to play with that, with the personal memory, but plus the memory that is inside of the object, that somehow it can be read as an absent, because absent is always connected to a present, no? And then it's completed by when you come into the space, no? So I'm working right now, or I'm showing you a very special work to me that is called Bareque or Posado. This is part of a large body of work that I've been doing in San Basilio de Palenque. That is called as like the first free town founded by runaway slave, temporarily condition of a slave in near Cartagena, where I grew up. So I almost grew up in Palenque. I was working there and doing workshops all the time in communities as a way of understanding memories, connections, in different ways of becoming too. No? So I'm in Palenque, and I was walking by, and a woman called me and say, come because you have to take this photo, no? And before I was listening, a woman singing some kind of a lumbaloo, some kind of a ritual, a funeral song to their house. That is a song that I already recognize. And she called me, no? When I went in, she was cleaning the house. They were destroying the house because the house now, the modernity is coming into the town, and the government is changing the old houses for the new houses, no? So she was singing to the house to be able to say goodbye to all the memories that she has in the house, no? So that is a very intimate moment that she invited me. So how I did is I had an old radio that I programmed. So every time that you move the knobs, you are controlling or you are playing part of the story of herself singing to the house, or herself talking and grabbing all the plants, or then or when she was walking over the soil that is left from the adobe of the house. No, yeah.
No, that was a very, as you said, very intimate anecdote or part of the development of this work where absence is primary, I'll say, material almost in your process of building and connecting also with people. And
So yeah, so the to be able to understand my own memory, I've been working with the collective memories too, the collective memory of other people or other communities that they invited me to spend years of being within, but also plants, but also lands in different places that we will go later.
yeah, and that's great because we're going to talk about that idea of collective and shared loss. But before that, I would like to invite Lena to share also about this concept of absence within her work. And we have here, what is this one? I don't know, this one or the next one?
Yeah.
It's this one. Yeah, like that sense of absence, which is also, I'm going to expand in the question after you go, because there's also another work that I think it would be interesting to share at this point. But please go ahead with this one.
So this work, it's called Ausencia a mano alzada. It's about absence. ¿Cómo se dice a mano alzada? Free hands.
Free hand. Absence.
Free hands absence.
That will be the literal.
Literal.
Very
literal. Free hands absence. So it's a work that I did during the residency at Fondation Phi in Montreal. In the time that was finishing the el confinamiento.
Yeah, lockdown.
So it was a very strange moment that we were all living lost. And it's marked a moment that I'm living, I'm missing people that live my life, my parents. Yeah. my parent lives. So I begin in my life like, ¿cómo dice? Huérfano.
Orphan.
Orphan, okay. So I did this work and I was invited to the institution to talk about, I was working a little bit about notions of how to decolonize practices. So I was invited a little bit around this notion, and when I arrived, I was thinking about what is not in the archive of the institution, what are all this work and names that we have no access because they are not there, because there is opacity of materials. But in the process of the residency happened something that was very, I didn't know at all where I was to arrive. But happened something, and I was listening like events during the residency, news, memories, conversation with people, thinking I was seeing. And at some point, there is a woman in Atikamekw, in Quebec, that lived a kind of situation that was very hard. There was after, I don't know if you know, Joyce Echaquan event in Quebec. Joyce Echaquan was an Atikamekw woman that died in front of Facebook, and she was calling for help because she was not receiving the good treatment from hospital team, and she was insulted. She was receiving a racist insult. So while she died, and she was calling for help by video, Facebook video. So some months later, it's happened to another woman that goes in the same region to the hospital. So that was Joyce Echaquan. So this one was called Jocelyn Ottawa, and nurses say, "Oh, we're going to call you Joyce." So she had fear, and she didn't talk. She didn't say nothing. She was scared. So that was hard for me because it's bring me the memories of my ¿cómo se dice? Bisabuela. Grandmother. That her story, I don't know very well her story because we have no transmissions of this part of the family story, but she lived a kind of violent situation and related to her health. So I think it was important during the residency to make links where I was thinking or trying to observe about the colonization in institutions, but also what was happening in communities, but also in my own story, of family story that I don't know. I have no access to many stories that was not told. So I did this work, that it was a kind of way to recognize all these women of my family that live very hard stories that never was told, but at some point my body is also a memory of a kind of events, but I have no the language to know what it's mean in my own body. So I make this exercise of performance that was diffusing direct by web, that I was drawing my body, thinking in each one of these women, my last grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother. So I was thinking of her. I was recognizing that they heritage stories that I don't know, but they are in my body. But I also forgive them to don't tell me the stories. I try to understand and try to dar consuelo in my own experience. So it was a very a kind of ceremony of the duelo, and to talk about absence, how to recognize absence that are there through this work.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a very, I'll say, yeah, it's deep exploration of that concept of absence, not only from your own personal, yeah, uh, history, but also trying to convey, and that's something that I feel that it's pretty much in your work, and it's how there's a lot of us that can relate to those particular situations, just the way that you are connecting your own personal experience with experiences of this other woman, right? So I think that uh, it's this idea of absence is not only present for both of you as something like personal or internal and private in a way and intimate, but it also becomes um, something that it could be related more to the idea of the collective or shared loss. Just because it's something that it can be easily for so many of us to relate, such as the sociological or the environmental loss. So I would like to ask both of you if you can discuss about the challenges and opportunities of addressing these broader forms of loss through your art. So when it goes to a very personal and intimate experience, but the way that you are building your own practice, it's getting into that space where others can also connect, and it's also touching with this, like this broader form of loss in your art. So, Alex, do you want to share about this environmental loss, like in your work? And I can show another image.
Actually, now that you were talking, and then the loss, your question, I can relate it with two special works. Like one that I made for years with my mom. My mom had cancer. Oh, right there. Ah, I'm gonna start crying. Oof. Oof. Oh, it's
Yeah, taking the speed. Give it 1 minute.
yes. Yeah.
We're gonna give Alex a couple
Yeah. Oof.
minutes.
I wasn't really planning to right there. No, but you know what? Loss. I was planning to talk about that work later or in another question, but then when you start talking, say, wow, it's loss. I think I made that body of work with my mom because I knew that something was coming, that it was the end. So I needed to talk about a future loss by building it, no? So I think in a lot of my work, like today, we went to the exhibition today with Elena, and Elena's reaction was like, "Oh, that is a lot of work here in your piece," because I spent hours, months, years working in each of the pieces that you see in my work, and it's as I feel that the making, the doing it, I need to feel it in my body by spending so much time feeling it in my skin, in the smelling it, cooking the plants, making the paper, and that was exactly what I did with my mom. My mom said I had cancer, and I said, okay, we are gonna go through this together. How? By doing it, no? By creating memories together, new memories together, but also by doing workshops. So we start making a series of workshops at the Cancer Hospital in Panama City. At the same time, we were doing a large video workshop with youth in Panama City too, but gathering all the stories of the gentrification of the town, no? And then at the same time, we were creating actions together. Um, talking about the body, the woman, like the body of a woman that is sick, that is changing, but also is talking about like it needs to be seen, no? But also at the same time, people were supporting all the process by giving us hair. So I start embroidering hair or weaving hair. Huh? Um, and then we made a machine. When you pull the threads of that machine, you're playing videos. So and by pulling it, like you are constructing the story in the order that you want it, but also in the speed that you want it. So if you pull one like slowly, the story comes slowly. If you pull it faster, you can have a minute of the story. Huh? So, and this is similar what I'm doing now with a new piece. I'm just gonna show you something. Talking about laws and environmental laws, because I think, no, the next one. I think there is another one. The process, I use the same strategies to be able to talk about environmental laws, but also personal ones, and it's by spending so much time within the plant, the spaces. So right now, after my mom passing, yes, life sent me to Costa Rica, to the little house in Costa Rica, and after Jorge's daughter also passed, so we end there, and for the first time, I wasn't able to work with a community how I did it before, even with my mom's work. So here, I start creating moments, memories, and intensities with the land. So this is something that we are showing right now at one side. Just the beginning. So I start walking through the land, through a river, through the bank river that is dry after the worst flooding that we had in the area for the last 25 years. So after the flooding, I'm walking and grabbing all the plants that were falling from the trees, that they're so-called invasive plants, and grabbing them, and for months I make these papers. So those are large pieces of paper, like 17, 16 feet long, like como 5 metros each. And then and I'm working with them now. I'm going to start creating spaces. So when you go to the exhibition, please go visit it. You will see the first one. That now is becoming something else. A large installation.
Yeah. No, Alex, and I know how personally you both have navigated an emotional toll within your work and your own personal lives. And I know that this topic of loss is a huge one for both. But thank you for opening your heart and sharing a personal experience about it. I know it's tough, but I think you did a great job. Yeah, Elena, do you want to continue with this idea of the collective and shared loss? Because I also think that um, your own work, it's really touching on like very important sociological losses that many of us have suffered. So do you want to elaborate a little bit on that within your work? And I can show the next image.
So in this piece of Ausencia Mano Alzada, I try to make links with women of my family. Women that I didn't know, like my great grandmother. I tried to build link that was broken. And what I understood during my life working with women and collective is how strong is when women are together and we build links. And it's something that it's very important, and Alexandra and I believe this together, and it's why how we meet is through a collective of women working together. And so I don't know if I'm going to answer probably like these questions, but your question, but I think this base of story of and memory of my grandmothers, my mother, and other women in the family, how hard it's to trust, how hard it's to give the consuelo, no, to give all these spaces between us. So I think we need to take a conscience that it's important to build these moments and these dynamics to trust, to be able to trust between us. And what I learned is to build collectives that maybe are not going to be forever, but while we can, there is a moment to work together just to do it. And yes, it is the way I'm working and what I'm doing, not only in work, but in my life also. So there is this borderline that it's I say, se atraviesa esa frontera entre lo personal y el trabajo, ¿no? Collective work with other artists become also human experience and yeah, with other values than concurrence or individualism. So how can we be together and yeah.
No, you did. I mean, I think that basically the different notions that you are tackling at this point is how there's like a really fine line, or sometimes there's even no line between that personal and experience and your own work, right? Like it comes everything from that internal place, but in a way it's somehow difficult to understand where one begins and the other one ends, because it's embedded, it's so embodied. Going a little bit into, and this is also, looking at the time now, is trying to wrap up, because we also want to allow the audience to have some questions with the artist.